Email marketing tips working right now. If you've ever had the pleasure of seeing Jay speak, he's one of the foremost experts on email marketing and really understanding what is and isn't working today. And of course, that is the subject of today's conversation. Jay, I never even know how to introduce you. You got so many things going on. Subjectline.com, Outcome Media is his agency, Guru Media Hub. And then, of course, all the great events that you do. You got the Guru Conference and the Eventastic Conference. I've attended both. Both are absolutely excellent. Nice. And the host of one of my favorite marketing podcasts, Do This, Not That. And I mean that seriously. A fantastic podcast. Quick, punchy episodes loaded with hard-hitting tactics that you can do today. So highly recommend that you check those out.
Thank you. You're awesome. I appreciate that. Yeah, you made me sound way cooler than I am. I am not cool, but it was cool that you guys invited me back. So I'm stoked to be here. Should I just rip? Should I go? Should I do it?
Rip. I'm not going to hold you back.
All right, cool. Well, I'm sharing stuff on my screen. For those of you I don't know, let's become fast friends. By the way, I'm going to put all my crap here in the chat so you could find me. So I talk really fast. I share a lot of tips, tactics, whatever. And the goal is after I go through all this stuff, all of my stuff is from very recent data. You'll have anxiety because I talk too fast, but hopefully you get some ideas to test. And that's really my goal. I hate when you go to any session, you're like, well, that was a waste of my time. You'll get at least something that you want to try to this, I hope. So where does my data come from? It's not about who I am. Who cares who I am? But besides for all these conferences and media stuff that I do, my agency, Outcome Media, about 100 or so person demand gen agency based in South Florida, we execute on all kinds of media, but on the email side for our clients, business and consumer, we do about 6 billion emails a year, and we take all that data in real time. We're looking at stats, trends, tips, tactics, whatever that is working right now. And one of our websites is subjectline.com, which is free. So that's where my data comes from, but who actually cares? Let's jump into all sorts of stuff. Again, this is going to be like a fire hose, and it's all over the place, and my slides are ugly, and there you go. Okay, so letter format emails. This is actually really, really important. This is new data that we're just seeing, so I want to share it. This stat is kind of weird. Letter format emails, you know, those emails that look like a letter, look like a one-to-one communication. So letter format emails that reference the original engagement convert to pipeline 220% more than non-letter format emails that for the first touch that talk about the original engagement. What the hell does that mean? That means when someone goes to your site or wherever and they download a guide, a tip sheet, a checklist, or whatever, right? Whatever it is that they are consuming and then going onto your list, that first email that goes back to that person, if it's like an HTML email with all the graphics that says, hey, here's more garbage for you to check out, versus if it's a letter format email, it looks like it's coming from a human being, right? The human being letter format emails, if it says, hey, I'm so excited you just downloaded that guide, here's some other piece of garbage that you don't want, those letter format emails crush it as compared to that HTML format emails. And this happens to be a letter format email that my company sends out. But why does it do so much better? Because it's the first time that you're engaging with this brand, this company, this organization, doesn't matter if it's consumer or B2B, and you feel more connected to it. So for example, this is what goes out. If you use subjectline.com for the first time, you get this email that looks like it's coming from me, even though it's not. And it says stuff like, you're awesome, thanks for checking it out. And here's the podcast. And then it also says in there, would be amazing if you reply to this and let me know about what you think about subjectline.com or any good TV shows to recommend or whatever. We have an 11% reply rate. That's on the gross number of people that are coming in. So if 100 people come in, we get 11% of people replying to this email, which is awesome. So these type of tactics can actually be a game changer for pipeline. Another thing that's a game changer for pipeline, and this also is newer data, is the first 3 hours. So when you receive an email address from somebody, right? Receive an email address from somebody, and you wait too long to get to that person, all right? It becomes useless. That person forgets about you. They don't care. I mean, think about for yourself. You go on a site, you sign up for something. Okay. And then you don't hear from them for like 10 minutes. You're like, did it go through? Do I have to call somebody? Did it happen? Follow-up communication sent more than 3 hours after lead is generated by webinar attendance or content download convert to pipeline 80% less than leads that are followed up sooner. You cannot wait. Like if you do a webinar and you get a database, you cannot wait till tomorrow okay, to send them the follow-up email. Even if you just say, hey, tomorrow we're going to be sending you all this awesomeness, but we want to let you know we really appreciate you being there. You're cool, you're great, you're whatever. You need to build that connection fast, and longer than 3 hours will absolutely crush you. All right. This is another trend that I know a lot of you out there are B2B folks. And you're gonna be like, oh no, I can't do that. I can't do that in my CRM. I can't do that here, there, wherever. I don't know. But I'm telling you, you got to get on this train, and I don't care. And I'll tell you why. So on all of our forms, what have we done for the last 10 years? When someone goes to fill out a form to register for whatever, webinar, content download, demo, trial, whatever, you have them put their email address. And what do we all do? We say, no, 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 no. We don't want your Gmail. We need your work email address. And we force them to put in their work email address. Well, there's been a 20% drop in the work email ask in the last 12 months. Okay. And this is for non-demo offers. I'm putting demo offers off to the side because that's a little bit of a different beast. Okay. But for content downloads or webinar registrations or anything like that, the work email option is actually being dropped in terms of how often companies are asking for it. Why is that? It's not only because everyone's just become a really good person and they want to do right by everybody, which, by the way, you should. Because the biggest mistake that people don't realize is that a lot of times when people are giving their personal address, they're thinking about leaving the job that they have right now. Maybe they're in between jobs, okay? And they want to get smarter. They want to gain more knowledge, right? And then they go on to their new job. And if they have your content, then they can think about you when they need that product, service, or thing. But if you say no, it's a negative signal to them where you're not allowing them to get access to it. And that's how you make enemies. But there's a bigger reason why this is going on. The bigger reason why this is going on is that LinkedIn, Meta, Google, okay, when you go to run any kind of marketing campaigns on those platforms, they have a 3-to-1 match rate when it's a consumer-based address versus a work-based address. So when you go to upload a database that you want to then retarget to, if you only have the work address, you can't actually market to these people effectively. And everybody now knows that. And here's the other wild part. C-level executives aren't using their work email for these types of contents, for these content plays. So when given the option, C-level executives are providing their personal email addresses 2-to-1. Now, if somebody wants to use a throwaway address like a Mailinator or whatever, who cares? They were never going to go to pipeline with you if they were going to use a throwaway address. But here's the thing that nobody's talking about. I know this is all about email, but we're talking about email addresses right now. So it's still more of like kind of email thing. And by the way, but my agency does, it's not a commercial for my agency, but in general, you should be doing this, and it's super cheap. I'm talking about hundreds of dollars. Instagram Reels ads, okay, paid ads on Instagram Reels promoting webinars and events, B2B, is the secret sauce of marketing right now. It is working so well. I could have given you 100 examples here. And I bet you if you go on Instagram, you've seen inbound ads probably like 100 zillion times, right? Now, why is that? All right, here is the breakdown. In the last 90 days, this is across 200 webinars and 40 events. On the webinar side, okay, if you run paid ads, and you could run paid ads for $100, I'm not talking about a lot of money. What you do is you take that database of people that you got and you upload it to Instagram, or you use their targeting. The cost per registration for webinar registrations, running them on Instagram Reels. Everyone's like, no, that's consumer. Wrong. The world has changed. On average right now, they're coming in at $2 to $6 per reg. That is nothing. That is wild. That is why those consumer email addresses are so valuable, right? And on LinkedIn ads, it's way higher. I like LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn first guy, but their ads are coming in at a much more expensive conversion rate. Now, if you happen to be running an in-person event or something like that, you're not going to really sell paid registrations right from Instagram or LinkedIn, but you can get the more info, people filling out for more info if you want to run event paid ads for an actual big event, which you see that's what inbound does quite a bit, right? So the moral of this very long, boring story is that, and you can capture it all. It's a good question. I just saw it come in. When you do the more info, this is what I believe everyone should do. Doesn't mean it's there's two options. So let's say you run the Instagram Reel ad for your webinar. Okay, you have two options. One option is You can say, hey, register. And they click register. You can take them off of Instagram and have them register, okay, on your form off platform. Or you can have them, you click register and it happens right there in platform on Instagram. They don't have to leave. That is really how you get to the lower side of that $2 to $6 by having them not leave the platform. And the reason being is, I don't know about you all, there is nothing more annoying than being on platform and then being asked to leave platform, whatever it is, because you're there. You're not looking to go to somebody's landing page. It's annoying. So keeping them on platform, and then what happens is you can get a batch file as often as you want, or you can have a hook that goes right into your CRM, and you get all the leads as they're opting in, doing whatever. And in terms of targeting, and I'll get off this topic, the good and bad is on Instagram, you can upload contacts for retargeting. Okay, great. The secret sauce there is, though, you can't run an ABM cam. You can't run an account-based marketing campaign on Instagram. You cannot run like, I want these 500 companies. Can't do that. You could do that on LinkedIn, but you can't do it on Instagram. If you want a higher match rate on Instagram, though, if you have the zip code of the person, that increases your match rate exponentially. So anyway, I know that's a lot, but if you're not going deep on Instagram Reels, I think that you're leaving opportunity on the table. Let's talk about AI. I mean, if you have a session, you don't talk about AI, were you really there? So let's talk about AI. So listen, AI, great, love AI. It's not taking your job. Who cares about any of that nonsense everybody talks about? What's really important right now, and it's going to be changing really, really fast, is that we all are using AI for our content. We are, okay? It's fine. That's not a bad thing. But the problem is what we are doing with AI is a problem. We are doing Control C, Control V. What do I mean by that? We're saying, hey, AI, help us write this social post that I could put on LinkedIn, that I could write my email, that I could put in my newsletter, that I could have my subject line. Help me. And they write a great one. And what do? Control C, Control V, and we use it. As an example of what I mean by that, and this is coming straight from ChatGPT, M dash, that long dash, okay, that elongated dash. That is now a telltale sign that somebody is just using AI for their content and it's pulling down performance. So when you ask ChatGPT, look what it says. Roughly 40 to 60% of social media posts that ChatGPT creates include at least one M dash. Why does that matter? Because less than 10%, if a human writes it, would ever use an M dash. It matters because what we are now seeing in the data, which is ridiculous, is when you use an M dash in your social posts, in your subject lines, in the headline of your body copy, on your webinar landing page form, anything, it's actually lowering engagement by 17% because subconsciously we see it and we're like, that was written by a robot. Screw that. I'm not interested. So it's important that we are adding the humanity to what it is that we are doing. Now, let's take that further. There are certain words now that we as humans are starting to tune out, that we are starting to view as AI. We may not even realize it consciously, but there are. Example of that is unlock. I mean, when you go to your inbox and you think about and you look for the word unlock, you're like, what am I, a locksmith? How much crap am I supposed to unlock? Everybody's telling you to unlock stuff. It's ridiculous. And the reason it matters is that these words and these emojis are the most given back content elements by ChatGPT and Perplexity and Gemini and Claude and the man in the moon. Okay, so what does that mean to performance in all of your email marketing? The green check mark, that is like the ultimate tell. If you see anything with a green check mark, forget it. AI wrote it, and we know it. And the party popper emoji. Okay. And yes, emojis B2B, they work great. If you're not using them, I don't know what's wrong with you. That's a whole nother topic. But at the start of your subject line, if you actually use these, it will lower your performance by 12%. And at the start of your subject line, if you use these words, okay, to start your subject line of your emails, your promotional emails, it will lower your open rates by 14%. Nobody cares. It's crazy. You can't just take what it gives you and say, oh my God, that's so good. Unlock the Q3 tips for blah, blah, blah. That's such a great subject line. Wrong. You sound like everything else. All right. And you don't believe me? Okay, cool. What are the phrases that ChatGPT gives back most often when marketers are asking for subject lines, content pieces, blog title posts, and social posts? And here you go. Most common ChatGPT generated phrases. Don't miss out. Let's dive in today's fast-paced world. Game changer. I mean, come on. Nothing anybody's doing is game changing. Zero. Okay. So if you're saying that, this is why your stuff is not breaking through. Don't miss out. Come on. That worked 2 years ago before ChatGPT told us, you tell everything, buddy, don't miss out. You need to be more creative. This is why you're not getting the performance, these little things. Let's dive in. Who says that? Right? Unless you're a swim instructor, who says that? Come on. I get worked up. I don't know why. Listen, 1 billion people now, these stupid things that we all made turned us into going to ChatGPT for everything. We made these dumb images and that's it. We became even more in tune with ChatGPT. Over 1 billion users now a week on ChatGPT asking stuff. And I know I'm down different rabbit holes. It's not all email. I don't care. It's important. Listen, I came across this wild stat that I'm going to show you in a second, and it changed everything for all my clients, my business, whatever. For the last 25 years, we've used Google, and we search for stuff on Google. We search for stuff a certain way, right? And we've made our websites make sure that we have all the meta tags and all the headlines, and we did it a certain way because we want our content to show up on Google search engines. But now we got 1 billion people a week searching on ChatGPT, let alone all the other AI platforms. The problem is when we go to ChatGPT, the irony of it, because it's all robots, right? We ask it more in a human tone. You're like, hey, I'm pretty hungry today. I'm not feeling pizza. What should I have for lunch? Whereas if you're on Google, you're like, where can I get a salad? You know, something like simple. So this idea of this kind of like more human dialogue, our content, our websites need to react to that. So your site needs to be optimized for what's called answer engine optimization instead of search engine optimization. And it's in addition to, and I'll get you this deck, but if you write this prompt, you go to ChatGPT, you write, act as an answer engine optimization expert, review the content structure, lead capture flow, and then you put the URL of your website in there. As if you are ChatGPT answering a B2B professional searching for solutions and blah, blah, blah. And then you tell it, rip my site apart and tell me what I need to do on my website to make sure it's optimized so my stuff shows up in the searches. Or if you're lazy, just write, what is the best prompt to ask you to have my website AEO optimized? That's it. And then what it gives you back will blow your mind. It will tell you exactly what you need to do. I'm going to cut to the chase and tell you what you need to do. The number one thing that all the AI tools are hungry for, they're searching for, okay, is ask and answer content, listicle content, FAQs, where you're asking the most basic question, right? What are the new HR laws I need to know? Here they are, blah, blah, blah. You know, what is the best CRM on earth? It's HubSpot, and here's why. It is ridiculous questions, simple answers, because when we then go to ChatGPT and we ask it the question, it will pull your simple answer and it will source from you. Here's the stat that kept me up at night. I asked ChatGPT, what percentage of SaaS websites are AEO optimized, would you estimate? 8 to 12%. What percentage of direct-to-consumer sites are AEO optimized? 3 to 6%. Now, why does that matter? This is the opportunity of a lifetime, because now you have the ability to beat out 90% of the people in your category. If you take 10 minutes and you make your site optimized for this, you can beat all of those big players that are out there because nobody is ready for this. Nobody is doing this. So for example, I asked it this, you know, I need new billing software. Which ones have the most features if you had to pick only 3? Okay. And it said ChargeBee, Zoho, SaaS Optics, whatever. I have a feeling QuickBooks and FreshBooks and a couple other major monster companies would like this to be them to be in there. The answer right here. Don't you think so? So the reason these 3 are showing up is because they're playing the game. Okay. You have the opportunity to be ChargeBee. I don't even know what ChargeBee is. Okay. You have the opportunity to leapfrog competition right now. So, all right. A few more things and I'll get off the AI stuff. This also works on your webinar landing pages. Okay. Your webinar landing pages are epically boring. They're horrible. They're terrible. Nobody wants to register. Oh no, nobody wants to come. If you just stick your URL in there and say, act as an answer engine optimization expert, review the content structure and lead capture flow for this webinar, let me know what's going on. Period. End story. Easy. So then it will tell you what to do. It's not that hard. All right. First of all, the world needs more Chuck Norris memes. That's a fact. I love Chuck Norris. Anyway, let's keep on cruising here. Last one. I don't swear, but I think it's the last one. I also like this for ABM. I know we all use Zoom Info and 6sense and D&B and the Man on the Moon for all of our, whatever. But people are sleeping like on ChatGPT, the free version, how easy this is. If you go to ChatGPT and you ask it something along the lines of, I want to build a prioritized account-based marketing file, use company name and URL as the model company. Find 100 companies that are similar in terms of industry, company size, focus, include the executive names, what they're all about, their tech stack, whatever you want to ask. It gives you back the best awesome ABM file based on everything that you asked in 1 second. So I think that we're sleeping on getting ABM files out of ChatGPT and the other tools. And it's free. It takes 2 seconds. Why not? All right. I am all over the place. Fact. All right. So let's jump into more crazy stuff. This is pretty interesting to me. Let's say your go-to-market is a playbook, a guide, a checklist, or whatever, who cares, right? What you call it is more important than what it says inside of it. Sorry, because you need to get the people to download it. All right. So you want it to say something that's going to get the person excited to download it. Now, let's play the game in the chat. Okay. Which one would you download first? SMB playbook or growth SMB playbook? Which one would you download first? I'm curious. Growth. I feel like growth is winning the day. Yes. Right? Me too. I would download growth first. And what did we really do? We just added the word growth. And so, wow, is this slide ugly? Here's what we've learned. Okay. Pre-format modifiers are working really well. When you include words like this, growth, fast track, quick fix, to the start of your content piece, whatever it is, instantly we see a 20% increase in downloads. So instead of the SMB playbook, it's growth playbook. Instead of HR playbook, it's fast track HR playbook, right? Instead of checklist, it's the quick fix checklist. These pre-format modifiers, and I know this sounds like a gimmick, this sounds cheesy, this sounds whatever, but this is how you win. You say, oh, everything's down. It's not as good as last year. Maybe it's because it's the summer. No, it's because you're boring and you're not standing out. That's basically what's happening. Wow. Oh, too many words. So it also works, of course, on the consumer side. Instead of makeup routine, it's the no-fail makeup routine. Instead of home essentials, it's quick fix home essentials. Instead of skincare discount, it's the glow up. I love a glow up. I don't know why. I think I love that phrase. Look at this. And you could use it on the B2B side, glow up, monthly glow up. I mean, that just basically be like, less ugly. I feel like that's what that means. I feel like my 17-year-old daughter would tell me that that's what that means. Although everything I say, she tells me that was like a year ago and you're a nerd. And she's probably right. So anyway, yeah, glow up. All right, let's keep on cruising. Wow, is this all over the place? Cool. Segmentation from engagement. Yes. This is bizarre. Not bizarre. This is actually probably like, oh, that makes sense. But I think until you see it, you're like, oh. So we looked at, we work on somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 webinars a year, promoting them for our clients, trying to get people to register and blah, 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 all that stuff. And what we looked at was for those people that attend a webinar, okay, the amount of time that they spend versus converting to pipeline. The fail that we do as marketers is we get, okay, 300 people registered for the webinar, 100 people showed up. We're going to send everybody the same thing. We're going to send everybody the same follow-up emails because basically they're all the same people. Wrong. That is what we have learned. So if somebody attends a webinar, for example, they're there for the entire thing, that 100%, like you are today, if you stay here for the entire thing, you are a different human than the person that just checked out the first few minutes. Okay, you just are. Your interest level in this topic is different. And what we see is that for those people that attend for 100%, they go to pipeline at 11% clip, significantly higher. The more time people spend at the webinar, the greater the likelihood is that they're going to go into pipeline. So what does that mean for you? What we recommend always is, okay, let's break it out by time. And those that are actually there over 50%, we want the BDRs, the SDRs, the whatever, to handhold them, to actually send them one-to-one emails. It's not that many people. Who are we kidding? And that is how you get them to convert. don't treat them all the same. This type of segmentation is super valuable. And then, of course, we looked at on demand. And on demand is tough. Nobody's watching on demand. They just aren't. I mean, everyone does the same thing. They register for the thing. They don't watch the thing. And really, the only people on demand that go to pipeline are people that basically watch the whole thing. So it's interesting to see all this data. And then we're also looking at what is the percentage of live versus on demand that are actually people watching anything. And it's live all day. It's live all day. There's a huge trend going on about getting rid of on demand. There's a huge trend going on where more and more companies are not allowing stuff to be on demand, or on demand is not available until 30 days later. I am telling you, if the worst thing that you can do, by the way, in your marketing that's not in here, the absolute worst thing you could do is tell people that on demand will be available. You do not want to do that. It's such a fail. It's like, hey, register for this, but if you can't make it, on demand is going to be available. Why don't you just say, don't register for this? Like, what are we doing? We have to stop trying to be nice to everybody. I'm sorry. It's ridiculous. You're not Netflix. All right. But even Netflix has changed, right? Now it's like things are getting released at certain times, right? If you watch shows like, My Friends and Neighbors on Apple or whatever on whatever, they're releasing like an episode every week or 2 a week or whatever. It's more of this. It's not everything for everybody. Why? Because webinar show up rates are down year over year, 26%, because we all do the same garbage, right? We register for it knowing that we're not going to go. So the thing that you want to do that works really, really well, if you're not doing this, you need to do with every webinar that you put on. It is attend to receive, where you are aggressively in all of your marketing telling people that if they come, they're going to get something cool. Right? When you have that element, that this live only element, it increases show up rates by about 35%. So only live attendees get the Q3 trends report, exclusive Q&A session won't be available on demand, early access to blah, blah, blah. We just did this. So I just did a webinar for HubSpot where they wanted to get people to, they want to get action going for inbound. And the way it was promoted by them, it was only the people that attend the webinar live are going to get this discount code to register for inbound. And it forced everyone to show up live. And the show up rate was awesome because this idea of having something that show up live is what actually works. So the other thing to think about is creating webinar urgency. It's very, very hard to create webinar urgency. But this idea of speed to registration increases registration rates by about 40%. What does that mean? When you say things like the first 100 to register get the pitfall to avoid sheet, or only the first 100 to register get the on-demand access, you're creating a little bit of urgency, which really, really can help. So if you're just trying to play the webinar game the way you've always played it, I think you're going to lose because that's the world that we're in. All right, a few other things. So weekends are crushing it in email right now. I don't know about you all, but I have no work-life balance. I don't. I should. It's terrible, whatever. But the reality of it is, if you're able to not look at your email at all on the weekend, I salute you. You're amazing. That's not me. Okay. And on the weekends, we also are consuming more and more long-form email. Those newsletters that you don't have time to read, we're reading them on the weekends. All right. And so Media Post came out with data that there's been a 23% surge in weekend web traffic from basically director level and above executives, because this is the time they have to consume stuff. If you're not sending out emails on the weekends, you are failing. Why? Whether you're a marketer, obviously, because it's real estate that you should be using. Click-through rates are up 68% last 12 months on the weekends, and sending volume is 88% lower. The fail that everybody makes in marketing, business, consumer, doesn't matter, is they do this. They'll compare things. They go, well, I sent out on Sunday, and you know what? It didn't do as well as my send that I do on Wednesday. It's not supposed to, okay? You have benchmarks for your weekend. You have benchmarks for during the week. They're apples and garbage cans. They're not the same thing. And that's the case for all of your marketing. There is no such thing as an industry average, okay? There is no such thing as you read this percentage, oh, mine's not as good. I saw this percentage for this thing. Trash. Okay, the only thing that matters is your own benchmarks. You take all of your email, your newsletters, your transactional emails, your promotional emails, your whatever, you put them in buckets, okay? And then you benchmark yourself. When I sent out the newsletter, it had a 40% open rate and a 3% click-through rate. I did this thing, I changed this thing. And next time it's got 30% open rate and a 1% click-through rate. Did worse. I got to figure something out. You just want to beat yourself, Okay, that's all that matters. You just want to benchmark yourself. And these are just a bunch of examples of everybody sending stuff out on the weekends because it works. It works. And look at SaaStr. Okay, they're sending out 37% of their emails on the weekends. So there you go. All right, let's talk about tariffs because that sounds like a fun topic. I will never get political. I care less about politics. I don't know anything about politics. Doesn't mean anything to me. So, but I will tell you that doesn't matter what you care about politics, there is uncertainty in people's minds about money. There's uncertainty for them personally, and businesses are uncertain about what's going to come, and they're being more tentative with how they are bringing on new suppliers, new vendors, new buyers, new everything. And the biggest fail is that brands are not talking about what's going on with their company. Okay. And we are now seeing it in the data. It doesn't matter if tariffs directly affect your business because they directly affect the mindset of the customers and prospects. So the mistake that's being made in conference rooms and Zooms all over the country is that you think, oh, our pricing is not changing, so we're good. No, if your pricing doesn't change, you need to tell everyone because they don't know what you know about your business and they are tentative and you don't even know it. It's like the silent killer. You don't even know it because they're just not responding, they're just not interacting. So now what we're seeing is that open rates are increasing when these words actually used in the subject line, tariff and uncertainty. Why? Because it's like talking about the elephant in the room that everybody just wants to know what's going on. And we're seeing it more and more in the content that's out there, in the marketing that's out there. The companies that are business or consumer brands that are talking about the uncertainty say, hey, by the way, our pricing is not changing. Okay, by the way, here's how we're navigating the uncertainty. You're like, okay, cool. I want to work with them because I understand what's going to happen with them. You see? And you see it all over the place, even in all the consumer brands. Lock in tariff-proof formula pricing, right? Anti-price hike deals, last day, tariff-free treasures. There's a reason that we're seeing this everywhere because it is what we want to know. This is not you getting political. This is you saying, hey, buy crap from me because it's okay. That's it. It's really that simple. And it's all about testing. So budget-aware phrases, for example, in the last 60 days are increasing click-throughs. Worth the spend, no fluff, all value, cost justified, tight budget tested, ROI backed, right? It doesn't matter if you're selling a SaaS product, a B2B plumbing supply company, you're an HVAC company, you're selling a direct-to-consumer lip gloss, doesn't matter. We all are dealing with the same uncertainty in our minds. It's the reality. Like, would you open this email if I sent it to you? Are tariffs over from marketers? 5 billion% you're opening that email. I'm opening that email. I don't know. I want to know. All right. Let's talk about a few other things before we get to hopefully time for Q&A. I've talked a lot about, words that you should use or not use or whatever. And Zendaya knows this. There are certain words, forget about AI, that when you actually, it's not just for events, it's for all of your marketing. When you include them in your subject lines, it actually, we're now seeing it pull down open rates, percentage of people opening up your emails. Learn, discover, register, reminder, find out, join. Nobody wants to be told to register. Nobody wants to be told to discover anything. You're not Magellan. Nobody cares. This is not fun. This is not engaging. This feels like torture. So thinking about the words that you are using has a huge, huge, huge impact. Okay. Discover what's in store. No, I'm not Ponce de Leon. I don't care. I don't want to discover anything. I want to discover where my lunch is. That's all I want to discover. So you have to think about, do you like learning? Learn. I stopped learning when I was like 7. I don't want to learn anything. All right. We have to think about how the mindset works of who we're marketing to. And that's why it's hurting performance. And you're like, wow, I wonder why this isn't working. It's not working because it's boring. Okay. Here are in the last 90 days. Wow, this slide's ugly. The tactics in the subject lines that are actually leading to the highest increase in open rates. Okay. And if you're out there and you're like, well, I can't do these because they're going to send me the junk folder, the spam folder. That is information from 1984. You don't go to the junk or spam folder because of symbols like brackets or emojis or exclamation marks. You don't go to the junk folder because you wrote the word free. You don't go to the junk folder because you capitalized something. That is information from 15 years ago. And I love when people put out spam trigger word lists of words to avoid. It's not true. It's fake. It's a lie. Okay. The reason you go to the junk or spam folder is for lack of engagement. People aren't clicking and responding to your emails. That is why. That is the signal that the email platforms are looking for. And that is why when you go to your inbox, you see all of these tactics in your inbox, not in your own junk folder, because it doesn't matter. That's not what they're looking for. Okay, so when you capitalize the entire first word, like you see here, new, crushes it. When you have brackets, crushes it. When you start with a number, when you have less than 3 words, when you use urgency, these tactics are all must tests. And if you test them all and 3 of them work, you're like, oh, that guy Jay who gives me anxiety is an idiot. Very true. But you now have 3 new things that you could use at different times. That's the goal. Okay. Fun AI thing. This was so helpful to me. And by the way, I make my own memes. Thank you very much. They're all pretty terrible. This is from Spider-Man, if you don't know. And will I be seeing Superman this weekend? I will be seeing Superman this weekend. I do not anticipate it being very good. I think Superman is the worst superhero on earth. Not that you ask, because he has too many powers and it's just terrible. And the fact that it's just going to be horrible. Anyway, not the point of this slide. Okay. I don't know why, but I love this. So you go in there, you put whatever industry you're in. I'm in B2B SaaS and want to get email newsletters from big companies, cool publishers, and anything else I should be reading via email newsletters. Can you give me reg links for what I should subscribe to? I don't know about you all, but I never know what the hell to subscribe to. So when I do this, I just subscribe to all this stuff and then I get all the newsletters and it's awesome. It's super awesome. And then basically well, who cares about that? I take all my newsletters and I put them into a folder and it makes a search engine out of my email. By the way, if you ever think you have a lot of unread emails, that's my inbox. Not good. I've given up. I've lost the battle. 1.2 million unread emails is an epic fail of life and it's over. So I need a new email address, but that's a whole other problem. Yeah. Okay. So let me give you some free stuff and then we'll see if there's any Q&A or if everybody fell asleep. Hey, what up, Snoop? So first off, if we're not connected on LinkedIn, let's fix that. Let's go. I'm going to put this in the chat so you have my links or whatever. I share horribly cringy stuff on Instagram. Really, I do. I just started doing that recently, so that's fun. And this, I'm doing something. I'm failing miserably. I need help. In the last 2 months, I started a YouTube channel. I can go down a rabbit hole. I think YouTube is going to be the single most important thing for B2B pipeline moving forward in the next 2 to 3 years. I could explain why in a whole different time. So I'm building up my YouTube. If you would subscribe to my channel, you would be my new best friend because I'm building this thing. It sucks. It's terrible. And it's at Schwedelson. I put in the chat and we'd be BFFs forever. I appreciate you. You could watch me fail in real time because so far I am failing, but I will figure it out. Okay. I'm going to be at Inbound. They let me do a bunch of sessions. I don't know why. So hopefully if you're there, we're going to hang out. We can connect. I'm doing one on the main stage, which is even more embarrassing. They're letting me do that. So hopefully I will be able to hang out with you at Inbound because that's going to be bonkers. And then the last thing, wow, is this slide ugly? If you want my slides from today, if you want to be subscribed to my newsletter, if you want to link to my podcast, I also want to register you for Guru Conference. That is my free virtual email marketing event that my company puts on. 25,000 people will be there. They were there last year. Nicole Kidman is speaking this year. It is going to be wild. It is free. It is virtual. We don't really do on demand. If you want all of this, just send me one email to jays@corpwd.com. I will send you all of this, including the slides, and steal this tactic. Why do I do this? Why do I do this at the end of every speech? Because the number one signal, and you should do this at the end of your webinars, at the end of anything for whoever's speaking anywhere for your business, okay? I do this because the number one signal on earth for email deliverability is if you email me something, and then I reply to you, I will stay in your inbox in perpetuity. There's no better signal. So yes, I want to get you all the garbage, all the stuff, but it's also a secret hack. So if we ever want to talk again, I am in your inbox. So that's my secret. All right. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing. Hopefully everyone's sleeping. And there you go.